Let's get into the personal problems now with Dr. Jonty, who's here, and sex therapist Joe Hemmings. Very good to see both of you. We've got Angela on the line from Bedfordshire, and you're a mum, Angela.
I am, yes, of two.
Yeah, oh, very good. So what would you like to talk to our experts about?
4 years ago, I gave birth to my daughter. She was 8 pounds 14, and I had a forceps delivery, and obviously I had to have stitches with her. Last year, I gave birth to my son, naturally, who was nearly 11 pound born, and the scar that I had from previous stitching actually torn, and ever since then I've found it really difficult to have intercourse.
Because it's painful, I presume. Still painful, is that right?
Yeah, that's
Angela?
Correct.
Well, I'm not surprised after an 11-pound baby, and wow, poor you. So what can she do?
Well, I mean, it's two big babies. Your second one, really big. I mean, obviously, Jonty will talk about some of the sort of medical side, but for me, I think you must have a certain anxiety there as well, that it is going to be painful with that scar. And I would say, you know, good old friend, lubrication. I mean, make sure that you don't feel too dry, that you can feel relaxed. And foreplay, actually, don't go straight to the main event. Sometimes that will help just relax those muscles enough for it not to be so painful.
The other thing I wanted to ask Angela, so two children, am I right? And the most recent one was about a year ago, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
OK, so, I mean, we would normally expect a scar to be healing really within about 5 weeks, and it does concern me that this hasn't healed up, so I think it is important to have a check-up. There's a couple of reasons for that. Just make sure that there isn't still a stitch there that hasn't dissolved, because that can keep a scar open and irritated. The other thing is just to make sure there's no infection there. And the other thing that I'm sure Joe knows more about than I do is about the position, because actually the position that you're having sex in can have an impact. Depending on where the tear or the scar is, actually it may be worth just trying to change positions to make it a little bit more comfortable. But please do go to the GP and have a check-up.
Because it shouldn't still be hurting.
No. Shouldn't still be hurting, not after this long.
Especially not bleeding, John.
No, absolutely not, yeah.
OK, Angela, do let us know how you get on, won't you? Thank you for
very
your
much.
call.
Thanks, Angela.
Sarah in Bristol, are you there, Sarah?
Hiya.
Good morning. What's your problem today?
Well, I'm just a bit worried about my relationship because my partner's got a higher sex drive than what I've got.
And that's causing problems for you both.
Yeah.
OK.
Yeah, I can identify with this one, Sarah. I'm very interested in what the doctors have to say about this.
Sarah, you're saying he does want sex every day, and you're kind of happy with what, once or twice a week?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very common, mismatched sex drives. Now, the point is how you deal with it. I mean, do you talk to him about this? I mean, does he... The thing you don't want him to feel is that it's a personal rejection, actually. If your sex drive is lower than his, it's not about you saying no to him, it's about you not having the sort of instinct and wanting to do it in the first instance. So do you talk about this?
Yeah, we do talk about it, and we've tried using different sexual toys and things like that, but nothing seems to be working.
I mean, it's important to keep communication up. You must do, and you're going to have to actually compromise. Between the two of you, you're going to have to say, you know, yours is higher than mine. And the point is you've got to want to do it. I don't want you doing it because you want to please him, because there is
But Joe, you can get
not a good
tablets,
place to go from there.
You can get tablets for everything today. Is there not a tablet? You know, people are looking at Sarah and they're saying, like, you know, yeah, I've got this situation.
Well, Sarah's only 21.
Yeah.
I know,
Is there
young
something?
girl.
Is there a hormonal thing here? Is there something to put this right for in a quick fix sort of way?
I mean, there might be, but it'd be better to address it in any other way but that, really. It's a case of talking about it. It's a case of finding out... once you've set up an argument, once you're angry with each other, it's not conducive to great sex. So you've got to deal with the issues that
Sarah,
are causing
do you think your sex drive's normal, Sarah, or do you think it's quite low?
I don't know. I thought it was normal, but now I think it might be quite low.
What would you say? She's happy with sex twice a week? I think that sounds pretty normal.
It is. I mean, people always say what's a normal sex drive. What's normal for one person, like a lot of things, is not normal for another. But once or twice a week, I think you're probably
What would you say, John,
not to worry.
if Sarah was in your surgery
Well,
now?
I think the thing is that people do get quite concerned about this, and it's actually incredibly common, more common in women than men, but it's quite common to have a lower libido, a lower sex drive for a period of time. So it may just improve. I think the pressure that it sounds as though you're feeling under actually won't be helping either. So I think it's really important to have that discussion, as Joe says. I'm afraid the answer in terms of sort of medication to help is that there really isn't any. There's certainly none with good evidence behind it.
Sarah, thank you very much indeed. So many queries to get through from the woman's perspective now to the man's perspective. Jack says he's a 35-year-old man He has problems getting an erection and he feels really embarrassed about this. He says, I don't want to go to the doctors because I'm scared to talk about this sort of thing face to face. He's 35, he's very young for this to be happening. He obviously feels a bit of a failure on this one.
Yeah, I mean, the good news for Jack at the age of 35 is it's very unlikely there's anything really serious underlying this, but it's really important to see the doctor. You know, it's important not to be embarrassed. I think people very often do feel uncomfortable, but it's something that we deal with every day. And actually, particularly with erection problems, we can often be very, very helpful. So talk to the doctor, and we'll just be able to make sure, maybe do a couple of tests, make sure there's nothing underlying.
He's not alone on this, and he just has to pluck up the courage to do it.
Please, yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes it can be, if people are on other medications, can't it? Tablets for diabetes and can cause all sorts of problems.
As I say, at 35, it's unlikely there's any of that, but we'd want to check for diabetes. You know, we'd want to make sure his blood pressure was OK.
One that we often get calls about here, Sarah, she said, I went through my menopause 2 years ago, and at 52 years old, I can't be any less bothered in the bedroom department anymore. This is causing real problems in my 29-year marriage. So menopause is a big problem for women sexually, isn't it?
It's a really big problem, because hormonally, you change, and so your sense of sort of arousal and interest drops off. Actually, our own confidence in what we look like, body confidence, tends to drop off.
Which is in the news today.
Yeah, which is in the news today. So she's right in that bracket, in fact. So, and also we get, you know, vaginal dryness, less enthusiastic, less pleasurable. So all those things combined, and we just withdraw literally from the bedroom and from sex. I think she's had 29 years of marriage. It's brilliant. You know, sex is a representation of intimacy. It's a way of telling someone that you love someone, and you've just got to reconnect. It's almost making that kind of effort for Sarah now to remind herself of what those feelings of intimacy and pleasure were like.
Is this a problem unique to women? I bring this up because does the men's menopause exist, or do men go through a similar thing like this in middle age, or can go? It's not everybody, this doesn't apply to everybody, obviously, but this wouldn't be presumably exclusive to women.
Some of the sort of physical changes are exclusive to women, so I'm not aware of any physical changes that take place in men. Actually, men's sexual performance does continue far longer, but I think that for women, some of the vaginal dryness due to a lack of oestrogen can make quite a big impact. So sometimes, actually, a lot of research shows there isn't a huge change in libido, in sex drive after the menopause, but what there is greater discomfort having sexual intercourse, and simple treatments like an oestrogen gel will just help to increase the lubrication and thicken the walls of the vagina to make it more comfortable. So in terms of men, yes, there's often a slight decrease in libido, and certainly there's a decrease in levels of testosterone.
But I think, like Josie was saying, you know, men in a marriage, they have to be much more sympathetic to accept the symptoms of menopause and understand
bodies change, the shape changes, your waist thickens.
Oh, tell me about it.
Don't I know about it?
You're going through the female menopause yourself.
Anyway, listen, we're out of time. A lot of people just realise they're not alone in what they're talking about today. Dr. Jonty, Joe, thank you both very much.
Thank you for your call.
In the studio, we're breaking off because we've got the pop star